So with social media, what I use it for is to connect with people. I don't use it as a facilitator to sell. Now, can you? Absolutely. And people do it all the time. And then there's like the false news stories that turn out to be like an ad. That also is in a South Park episode. If you ever want to learn about it, South Park is a great way to learn about some of these things. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Behind the Booth. I'm Jade, and with me, as always, is my co host and producer, Heather.
And on this channel, we talk about wild stories from Comic Con vendors because we are Comic Con vendors. Jade has her own booth. If you've listened to this podcast at all, we talk about it all the time because that's what we want to help you guys. We want to educate you on how to do this because we are learning and just really enjoying it, and we want people to be able to do this. But we are Tokyo Dog Designs. We have a list of all the conventions that we're going to be at in our bio, so go take a look at that. Please come say hi to us if you're going to be at any of them because we would love to meet you. And today, another way that you can actually find us is on social media because we are all over it. And today we're going to talk about that because social media is one of those things that, like, it really intimidated me when I first started out being an entrepreneur and being like, oh, I need to have a presence on social media. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what even is that? And it's freaked me out. And it doesn't have to freak you out. What? You're just laughing at me. It did freak me out. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have to talk about myself and my business and like put it out there, and it can be scary, it can be intimidating, but we're going to talk about how to make it less so. So go ahead and start us off, Jade.
I detest social media. I really did for a long time. I hated it. And it is intimidating. And I do not come from the generation of cell phones and social media. I came from the generation before that where cell phones were like for emergencies. And
Right?
like you had a
Yeah.
flip phone and it was like the size of a conch shell. Like they were massive. So that's where I come from. Now I always had the internet. I grew up with the internet, thank God. But social media was something that basically came out when I was in college. So if that tells you how long ago that was for me. Some of the advice I'm going to give you actually came from Holly Claire, who is a good friend of mine. And the first thing I will say about social media that she just like ingrained in me, like sandpaper into my brain, scratching ingrained in me, is that you have to be yourself on social. This is where we talked a little bit about the imposter syndrome in another episode. I
Mhm.
was afraid of people seeing all of that. But I found that really intimidating because I didn't want people to see all of me because, that's too much. And I wanted people to like me. And a great way to people, there's a whole series from South Park that talks about trolling the internet. That feels very true. And I didn't want to be trolled and I was scared. So once I got past that and I saw how much love there actually was for me and for my other stuff, and that I had fans that would fight for me, which feels awesome, by the way. It's like Beyonce and her like beehive, but
Beehive,
much,
yep.
much smaller, much, much smaller.
Swifties.
Yeah, the Swifties, so you'll get your own like army, but let's not talk about the army necessarily until we need to. So with social media, what I use it for is to connect with people. I don't use it as a facilitator to sell. Now, can you? Absolutely. And people do it all the time. And then there's like the false news stories that turn out to be like an ad. That also is in a South Park episode. If you ever want to learn about it, South Park is a great way to learn about some of these things in a fun way. Like Veggie Tales teaching you stuff, but like South Park, and it's crude and it's awesome. Um, so you can learn some of that if you don't know it. But I use it to tag things and make people aware that I am around, because you can't sell to people. You cannot have a business and a product base if nobody knows you exist. People have to know how to find you. And it's not that I say like, "Ooh, I have the stencil, blah, blah, blah. Come check it out." And then a website. And a lot of social medias do not want you putting a website that will take you off the platform. So sometimes you have to hide those in the comments and stuff like, "Hey, check this out in our comments."
And another thing
Yeah.
people will do is say, like, check out the link in my bio because you can have links in your bio. There are
Mhm.
places where you can make an entire link list. So you can be like, you just have one link in your bio, but that goes to all your social media pages, that goes to your podcast, that goes to everything. So there are ways around that like rule that social media has.
And they call it things like Instagram jail and Facebook jail and all of that, where you can get in trouble. So, try not to get in trouble, I would say. do your best not to be a dick. And that's really, I think, the montage of this whole podcast. Try your best not to be a dick. But when I post very thoughtfully. And what I mean by that is when I'm at events, if I see something that I know is interesting or unique or whatever it is that pertaining to me, I try to take photos, I try to take video. Holly and I actually came up with a schedule. Now, if you want to get this detailed, you absolutely can. But we came up with a schedule of what to post on certain days, how often to post. And her rule was, I think, 90-10, 90% just fun content, 10% that might lead to a sale. Keyword is might lead. Now, there are entire sales campaigns that will disagree with me. There are people that teach social media differently than I do. This is what works for me because I want the relationship. I don't want the sale first. I know that that's a weird way to think about it, but because of what I do and because of where I'm going with my business, I want people to know me, understand my personality, and want to work with me. And I want the type of clients that will buy anything because they like me. I know some of you that have gone to college who have had like their favorite professor and you take every class that that professor offers. That's who I want to be. So no matter where I go, I have my fans, I have my following of people just liking me and liking my products. So that is where my mentality is coming from. Heather with the podcast, same idea. If people don't know your podcast exists, they won't follow it. So Heather, what's your best advice for getting people to basically subscribe to things that you offer?
Well, okay, so for a podcast, it's a little bit different. Like, there's a lot. I have separate pages for just the podcast. You know, I have my own social media for myself, for my business, and then you have the separate pages for the podcast because you want it to be very, very specific. And things that I've noticed that have worked for podcasts is snippets of the podcast. Like, you know, we'll do the ones where we're just cracking each other up because people will be like, "Oh, I like them. Okay, yeah, I want to listen to that because that sounds like fun." Or if we have a really good tidbit that's just, you know, real quick, short form video, guys. Like, you gotta learn how to do it. Like, it takes a while and it's trial and error figuring out how to make it actually work, but that's where it's at, right? TikTok, Instagram Reels, that's what you're doing. And it's really easy to post across all platforms. But I like what you said about being yourself. Like, people can tell. People can tell when you're being fake. You know, we've all seen those videos of influencers where you're like, okay, yeah, like, there's no way that you have
I
3
remember that.
children.
Okay.
Okay. There's no way that you have 3 children and your house is always that clean. Like, and you know, you're just like, "Oh, these are my 3 easy steps to keep my house clean." Like, no, it's not. No, you have like a full cleaning staff, lady. Don't give me that. So we can tell, like, people can tell when you're not being yourself. You will come across as more uncomfortable. We've talked about how Jade does dancing in her videos because it makes her feel comfortable, and it relates people to her because they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool," and she'll actually do it. We talked about that too. That's the stuff that makes her comfortable, so she will actually post it. She will actually make the videos and do it. For me, what's best is just, I'm like, here's a random thought today. I guess you all get to hear about it, and I'll just put the camera in front of my face, or or I'll follow some random trend on TikTok because I'm like, that's cute, and I look cute today, so let's do it. Like, but
I've tried to do that. I've tried to do that and I can't do it. I always delete them
Yeah,
because it's not
it just freaks
me.
you
And
out.
Heather makes it look so easy. Yeah. So Heather will be out there and she's like doing voiceovers and dancing and like all these expressions in her face. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I start and I'm like,
Uh,
oh fuck. And that's all I can come up with. Or so I start doing something. I'm like, oh my God, my background looks terrible. Or like my one eyelash is lower than the other. I mean, I see all these details that I can't get past. And that's, I think, probably the benefit of working with Heather is that she does not care about those details and obsess about them like I do. Because I will obsess to the point where I just don't do it. And she's like, good enough, send it out.
yep,
And
just do
I'm
it.
grateful because then it actually gets done. Because, like we talked about before, you know, my book's better than one you haven't written. We need to have something out there, even if it's not to my level of perfectionist, which, to be honest with you, can never be attained. And that was a hard lesson for me. But with your social media, it is very time consuming and it can be. And we talked about this a little bit when we were talking about the downtime at the airports or airport life and how do I make the best use out of my travel time. this is one of the ways that I do it. I have my social media plan that I want to do. And actually, one of my favorite ones to do is what I call what's your 9 to 5. And it's where I
Mhm.
take videos or pictures of things that are considered normal, but from my perspective. So I had one where it was me behind my booth, behind the booth, and there
Oh,
was a Wookiee walking around on stilts. And so I took a
yeah.
picture of myself with it, pointing at like, who else gets to, this is the caption, who else gets to see a Wookiee from their desk or something like that. It was
Yeah.
cuter. But that was basically it because most people do not have that experience. Or when I go to Starbucks and everyone's in cosplay getting their Starbucks, like that's a weird sight.
Yeah.
And I talk about it as my normal 9 to 5. Um, so that's one of the things that I post. I know I want to post one of those once a month. That is my plan. And I know when I'm at events, I need to look out for those things, as
Mhm.
well as all the other stuff I have to do, like making sure I don't leave my cash box and making sure that I'm there at the right time and I'm at the right booth. There's a lot that goes into it. That's why I have a planner. Um, but it's one thing I keep an eye out for. Or if I'm doing a theme on cosplay, I was doing one with Spy and Family, or sorry, Spy Family. That's what it's called. My bad. I see the X and I always think it's the and because it's one of the ways to say and.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, with Spy Family, I've been taking pictures and stuff of them because there was a place that I was at that had the actual figures, like not made out of wax, like they were actual like plastic figures, and they looked great. So I was like, I'll do that for this month, and I did, and I had a great time with it. So tying this back into branding versus marketing, which we talked about in another episode, when you do your Facebook posts, when you do any of these posts, we use Canva, and we talked
Canva,
about
if you
how
want
you
to sponsor us, please
yes.
do. Email us at talkbehindthebooth@gmail.com. One day we will bag the whale. One
We
day
will.
we will get
We
that
will
Moby
get the
Dick.
mighty whale. But we use Canva to have the same font in all of our posts, to have the same color patterns. That way people can kind of recognize us. Now, let's say it's a Halloween thing. I'm probably not using my standard blue. I'm probably using black and white and orange, right?
But the
But I will
logo will
still
still be in the
use
corner.
the logo will still be in the corner and the font will probably still be the same, at least at some part. I mean, you will have that recognition somewhere. So, Heather, what is your best example of using Canva quickly?
Um, well, okay, you can start off free with Canva. First of all, there's a lot of things that you can't do if you have a free account, but you can do a lot on Canva with a free account. And I would say do it on your computer and not your phone, at least at the beginning, because it can be hard to edit. It's hard to move things around. I don't know, maybe Gen Z can, but I cannot. I am a
I
millennial and
can't
I'm
do it. I've
so
got like
sorry. I know,
lobster claw
like
when I
I'm
try
like I
to.
can, but it takes forever. My gosh. Okay, now I sound really old. Anyway, but getting started on Canva, just they have templates for everything. Be like, I want to make an Instagram post. I want to make a TikTok. I want to make Instagram stories. Like they have templates for it and they basically guide you through it. Be like, okay, this comes with this many pictures. So which of my pictures do I want to put in there? And they have the actual frames and they have where text would go and you can change the fonts to anything you want. And like you can change colors, you can change backgrounds, everything. Start with templates and see which ones you like. Then save them. If you really like a template, save it because you don't want to be like, oh crap, where did that go? Like, where did I even find that? Save the template, keep going back to it, because that's another part of the branding too. If you have a template, like if you always do the same, like you did that, this is my 9 to 5. You have that thing that you post every month or every week or whatever. If you always have these same stories, people will look forward to it. I know I've followed people that I'm like, oh my gosh, they're gonna do their like get ready with me today. I'm gonna watch that because it's predictable, and that's what we like because we're human and we're basically dogs, and we just like, oh yay, something is
Listen for
happening.
that Pavlovian bell.
It's
Um,
true.
and I also follow other booth people, other people that I've either met at events and I want to be friends with. That's how I know about other people's branding. And that's also how I know they're going to be at a show that I'm going to be at. And I message through Instagram and Facebook because a lot of times you don't want to give out your personal information
Hmm.
or you don't know when they're going to get back to you or if their email's broken. My email was broken for a while and that was not fun. Whole other episode
Oof.
about
Whole other
domains.
thing.
Ugh. So, but I'll message them like, hey, Rachel, I saw that you're going to be at Fan Expo Dallas. I'm so excited. Do you have a booth helper? Can we split? Or whatever it is that I want, or if I just want to say hi, or sometimes we'll exchange our booth numbers that we have. Like I'm in row 1507. Where are you? They'll be like, oh, I'm 1622. Like, cool.
Yeah.
We're kind of close. Or when other people post stuff, just liking it helps them get more recognition and introduces them to your pond, like we like to call it, like fish ponds. Um, and like beta fish, we hop into other ponds. So it's something that you absolutely can do within your social media. And I say it's time consuming because I find it to be time consuming. Some people love doing it and love doing social media. I've yet to meet one that's like, oh my God, it's my passion, because it's work. Truly and
Mhm.
honestly, it's work. But
Mhm.
it's work I get done a lot of times at the airport when I'm waiting for my flight, or I had to check in early to TSA, or I'm on the plane and we're on the tarmac. And so I still have internet, so I'm able to post things. And a lot of airlines, you can have internet as you're flying. You can buy the internet. We saw somebody literally on the flight to Florida who was working on Canva for her real estate office. Now, the kid sitting in front of her broke her laptop, which I could not believe that happened. But you can
That was
absolutely
a
work
rough
on.
flight.
Oh, that sucked. Wasn't the flight, by the way. It was the people on the flight. Um, but you
That's
can
another
absolutely
story
get
for
this
another time.
work. Oh, parents, you got to do better. And she is a parent and she does better. So thank God for people like her. But you can get these things done while you have this downtime because you're on a flight, let's say the very minimum an hour plus, because that's what most flights are. You can get a lot of your social media. But you can even start planning out. One of the things that I do on my phone, because I take all my photos and videos with my phone, is I go through and find the best of them because I'll take multiple photos. So I'm waiting. It's already on my phone. It doesn't require internet. So I'll just go off and just start deleting photos that I didn't think were that good, or if I was making a weird face or whatever, and then I know I'm ready to do my next step. We do like with Canva that you can upload the photos and you can share stuff. So for things for
Hmm.
behind the booth, I've sent Heather things either through Google Drive or straight through Canva, like, hey, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
And we've worked on things in collaboration together. And it shows like when she's doing it, it shows when I'm doing it. So we know when someone fucks up, like, oh, that was me. It was totally me. It's
Oops.
usually me. Again, like with all the editing, all the fuck ups are my problem. Just FYI, if you ever see something weird, it's me. I'm the problem child. But being able to do that,
Sweet.
and then I know that Heather uses, I think you said it was Meta, right, for your posting schedule?
I'm in between right now. I think I might be starting to use later. I was using Meta for a while, but yeah, schedulers can kind of be a lifesaver. And you don't want to schedule everything. I will say that because um, social media platforms do recognize schedulers, and they'll be like, they won't push it out to as many people because they want it to be more not spontaneous, kind of spontaneous. They want it to be more like at the time that you're posting. So
They
maybe
want it
like
their way, blah, blah, blah.
whatever, like,
Basement jail.
but I always like if it helps you post more often, don't shy away from a scheduler, but just, throw some regular ones in there too, just to help you out. But one of the best things for social media marketing, is consistency, which I teach this because I need to learn it myself. I am not great at being consistent. I need to be better, and I'm getting there. But like, not everybody's social media plan is going, or nobody's social media plan is perfect, right? Nobody has figured this out exactly. Especially the algorithms change all the freaking time. So you can't keep up. It's okay. Recognize that. It's fine. Find
Mhm.
something that works for you, like figure out how to schedule things that works for you. Like she said, she does it on the airplane, so, or in the airport or anything. Like, you figure out what works for you, because if it works for you, you'll actually do it. Just like the
Mhm.
actual posts. If you love to dance and you dance on it, then you'll actually do it and then you'll post it. If you got to figure out what works for you. Otherwise, it just won't happen. And clearly, I have not found my groove yet, but I know it's out there and I'm working on it.
Especially when you're always working or traveling, like the month of June, I think I'm home 4 days or something like that.
Good
Otherwise,
Lord.
I'm flying and doing stuff. Yeah, June's gonna be a rough month, so we'll see how that goes, guys. But I try to schedule ahead of time if I can, and then I absolutely do posts while I'm there. Any of the things that you see, especially if I see something weird or fun or my like one of my favorite characters, I always post about it. Again,
Mhm.
cosplay is not consent, so communicate that in the first place that you want to post it. But I always post something, or I post somebody else's booth and do cross marketing. Um, Or I'm just like, hey, look at this big event center because all the event centers are different. So I'll take like, and I make collages all the time of like, this was this event center, this was this
Mhm,
event center. And I've been planning for that for the end of the year.
mhm,
I'm going to do a post of like, this was 2023 for us. Wasn't it crazy? Because this is probably the year that I'm doing the most events. And I probably won't be doing as many in the future because it's just,
mhm.
it's very hard. It's very hard to do these. And I'm figuring out which ones I want to go to. So, you can think a little bit ahead with forethought on that type of stuff, but you can always back everything up to Google Drive.
Mhm. Yeah, backing up to Google Drive is always a good idea because that will, you can have that anywhere, you can take that anywhere. But part of what she was talking about with posting while you're there, I have been just an attendee at a convention, and like I I'm such a freaking nerd, as soon as I get home or I get to the hotel room or whatever, I'm on social media looking up what people have posted of that day and then being like, "Oh my gosh, I want to go to that booth. Oh my gosh, I want to go see that panel." Like I'm checking out what is going on, and a lot of people, I mean, you're only there for a few days. You want to get out of it the most that you can. And so if you're posting and being like, "Hey, I saw this person at this booth," and they see your booth and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that looks really cool. I got to go check that out." There you
Mhm.
go. That helps you out.
And I've seen some people literally take a picture of the map that they give us, and sometimes we get them in the email early, and they'll circle their booth
Hmm.
and post that on social media with directions on how to find them because some of
And
these
be
events are
like,
so massive.
yeah, we're close
Now,
to the chicken fingers. That's what we kept saying
I
in
know, so we
Florida.
said at the one
Smell the
event.
chicken fingers.
And sometimes your booths move, and sometimes they don't have the map ready in time for you to do that. But we usually receive a map when we get to the events. So that's one way that I've seen a lot of people do it. And they'll take the picture, they'll clean it up in Canva, they'll add the little circles and shit to it, and then they move on. So it's a really great way to show people that you're there and how to find you. I was super honored that at the New Orleans Fan Expo, their social media person came by and took a picture of my booth and posted it.
Oh,
And it showed all the
cool.
likes. I know it showed all the likes. And then I reshared it. And then I like took that picture and added it to things. So I just was like so honored. And I had so many people from the event come by and come check out my booth. And they're like, we were looking for you. We finally found you. It was the last day. And I was mesmerized by it. I thought it was so great. And Fan Expo does a great job with their social media. So if you ever
They
kind of want
do.
to see how they do it, I'm not saying I'm like stealing or even borrowing from them, but I'm getting inspiration from them of like, okay, that was cool, but I would have done it like this, or what's getting likes or what's trending. And the last thing that I don't really do well, in my opinion, that Heather kicks literally in the dick is TikTok. She rocks that bitch. So Heather, A, what is it that you're doing, and B, why?
Okay, so for TikTok, because I was a long time lurker on TikTok, not long time, a few months. I was just on TikTok, just watching everything. I
Oh
was,
my God. Okay.
I was like that creeper, just
Okay.
like watching everybody not doing anything, not posting anything. Those people that are like, "You look stupid," and you're like, "You haven't posted a single photo. You can shut up." But I wasn't mean, obviously. I love TikTok. I love it. It's so fun. There's so much creativity and so many people doing fun things. Of course, there's weirdness, there's badness, but that's just human nature, and that's the internet.
And
Um,
people suck.
yeah, they can. But I have found more than I have on any other social media platform, I have found like it's just fun. There's just fun stuff and it feels very real, which I put it in quotes because, you can only be so real on social media. Yeah. And so like but everybody seems to be doing what feels true to them. And like I said before, you can tell if they're not being true to themselves and to what they want to do. I know I've put out videos where I'm like, that didn't feel right. And I've deleted them or I've left them because I want to see my journey. But um just I was watching if anybody knows Gary Vaynerchuk, I think is his last name. He talks about social media a lot and people ask him like, I want to do something different. Like I want to stand out. I don't want to do the trends. And he goes, "Why don't you want to do the trends? Like that's what's literally trending. That's literally what will put eyes on your business." He's like, "So you don't want to do what the successful people are doing? Is that what you're saying?" Like it cracked me up. I'm like, that totally makes sense. Like start off with just those goofy things. I just did one where that like turns you into a cartoon. Like it's just it's silly, it's goofy, it may have nothing to do with your brand, but like it's just getting it out there. It's just, do something. Have fun with it. A lot of times I'll show pieces of my day and I'll do a voiceover for it because like, I don't know, I think I look weird as I'm doing a video podcast. I think I look weird when I'm talking on video. And so I'd rather just like walk around and be like, "Hey, look, this is what I'm doing. Look, I'm so cute, but I'm not actually talking to you. I'm just on voiceover." But you just, again, you find what works for you. And TikTok, they're like, yeah, you want to do what's trending, but there's a million things trending. Like, there are so many different avenues you can go down. There are parts of TikTok that I have never even seen. And then and then there's Pedro Pascal TikTok that I have been stuck in for like 4 months. It's wonderful. But
Because
like
he's amazing, though.
he's amazing. But there's so much to explore with it, and I have found that there's more freedom in TikTok than in
Mhm.
Instagram or Facebook. I just prefer it. Which, hopefully CEO of TikTok will be able to, figure out whatever the crap is going on. We don't talk about politics, so let's just not go there. But like it's just figuring out what you want to do and what you like about it. And if you're more of an Instagram person, then stick to Instagram. Like
Mhm.
that's also fine. And you can also cross. Like you can like make something specifically for Instagram. You can still
Mhm.
post it to TikTok. It may not do as well, but at least it'll be there.
And I mean, the main thing I liked about TikTok is because I do so much dance stuff, I have a lot of choice on music. And it's
Mm,
really easy and it's super available. And that makes it easier for me. And the way that
yeah.
I have it set to auto download so I can put it on my other social is one of my things. But I absolutely only make things for Facebook and only for Instagram sometimes. Sometimes I only do things on Twitter because I think it'll be relevant for that puddle. What did I call it? Pond, sorry,
Puddle.
puddle, pond, whatever. It's super relevant to people within that pond. So
Mhm.
I don't post any of my dance stuff on Pinterest because that's not what people are there for. They're not there to be
No.
entertained, they're there to make things and be inspired. So like my stencils and some of my artwork goes on there. But
Mhm.
when it comes to like my ridiculous dances where there's all the dog butts, like that's going on TikTok and Instagram, like that for sure
Yeah.
ended up there. So, kind of knowing a little bit more about the demographics there. And luckily, most of these algorithms you can access. It's a free thing you can access through Facebook, through Instagram. TikTok's analytics I know are harder to read because, as she said, the
It's
metrics
changing.
change all the time. Everything's changing all the time. So probably by the time we post this, all this will be irrelevant. Hopefully not. Um, but social media can be very, very valuable, can be time consuming. You can also make it fun. And if it's
Yeah.
something you really don't want to do, you can hire someone else to do it.
Yeah.
But the work you have to do is send them content because they can't work with nothing. Just like a first draft. Like you can't
Mhm.
have a first draft unless you write something, and you can't
Right.
edit a first draft if you don't write anything. So
Mhm.
that's the way I like to look at it. So
Yeah, so
Heather, take us away.
one last piece of advice. I would recommend on any of those platforms, be a lurker for a little bit. See what works, be like, why am I drawn to certain things? And then start to recreate those. Figure that out and figure out which ones work for you and just pay attention to it. Have fun with it. Social media is supposed to be fun. Like, I know it's kind of become this whole big machine. And it's like, it is what it is. That's just what we do with things as humans. It's just what we do, but just have fun with it. It's supposed to be fun, and that's how you're going to connect with people when they can tell that you're being real.
Well, we hope that this episode about social media was helpful. And a special thank you to Nerdy Girl Podcast for sponsoring this episode. We'll see you later.